The biting cold of a Washington winter night settled heavily on the streets, where traffic lights blinked lazily against the fog, and hurried pedestrians kept their collars high, eyes low, rushing to warmth and safety. On the corner of Constitution Avenue, beneath the faint glow of a street lamp, a woman sat shivering against the concrete wall of an office building. Her jacket was torn, her boots mismatched, and her small cardboard sign weather-worn and nearly unreadably simply said, "Veteran, hungry, please help." Most passed her without a glance. Some turned their faces away, unwilling to meet her eyes. Others walked faster, afraid of the discomfort her presence stirred. But then came a figure she didn't recognize at first, a man in a dark overcoat moving not with the hurried indifference of the others, but with an almost deliberate stillness. He slowed as he neared her, his eyes not darting away, but locking on hers. She tensed. Experience had taught her that attention usually meant trouble. The man crouched down so he was eye level with her. It was only then that she recognized him, Senator John Kennedy, a man who was more used to the halls of Congress than the cold sidewalks of Washington. For a moment, she didn't know what to say. But before she could speak, his voice, warm and tinged with his Louisiana drawl, broke the silence. "Ma'am," he said softly, "how long have you been out here?" Her throat tightened. She hadn't told her story in weeks. No one had asked. She swallowed hard and whispered, "Too long. 4 years since my discharge." "My name's Carl." Kennedy's brow furrowed. He sat with her, not caring that his coat brushed against the filthy pavement. "4 years? And no one's helped you get back on your feet?" Carol shook her head, her voice cracking. "I've tried. The system's a broken bar. It's slow. Paperwork, shelters full. Jobs won't take me. They see a veteran with PTSD and they close the door." For a long moment, Kennedy said nothing. He simply listened, really listened, as if her words mattered more than the demands of Capitol Hill or the cameras that so often followed him. Around them, people had begun to notice. Some stopped, pulling out phones, whispering in disbelief. A senator sitting on the sidewalk with a homeless woman. It wasn't something you saw every day. Finally, Kennedy stood, but not before gently resting his hand on Carol's shoulder. "Come with me," he said. "Tonight, you're not sleeping on this sidewalk." Carol hesitated. "Yeah, I don't want pity." Kennedy met her eyes firmly. "This isn't pity. This is what we owe you." Within the hour, he had arranged a warm meal for her in a nearby diner. He sat across from her as she ate, encouraging her to eat slowly, telling her stories about his own small-town upbringing to ease the heaviness in the air. He didn't treat her like a charity case. He treated her like a human being, like someone who deserved dignity. But the shock wasn't just in that moment. The real surprise came days later. Kennedy took Carol's story to the Senate floor. He stood tall before his colleagues and, with passion and fire, told them about the woman he met on Constitution Avenue. He described her years of service, her battles not just overseas but within herself, and the shameful neglect that left her to freeze on the streets she once swore to protect. "Carol is not a statistic," he thundered. "She is not a line item on a budget sheet. She is a soldier who bled for this country, and now this country bleeds her dignity one cold night at a time. And she is not alone. There are thousands like her. If we can fund wars, we can fund their recovery. If we can build monuments to honor their service, we can build systems that honor their humanity." His words ignited a spark. Reporters carried the story nationwide. The footage of Kennedy sitting on the sidewalk with Carol spread across the internet like wildfire. Millions saw it, and thousands demanded action. Within weeks, new bipartisan legislation was introduced to expand veteran housing programs and streamline mental health support for discharged service members. But Kennedy didn't stop there. Quietly, away from cameras, he made sure Carol was placed in transitional housing. He connected her with a program that helped veterans secure stable employment, and he visited her often, checking in like an old friend rather than a politician seeking credit. Slowly, Carol began to rebuild her life. Months later, at a community event, Carol stood on a stage beside Kennedy, her hair neatly brushed, her clothes clean, her posture steady with pride. She held the microphone with trembling hands, tears brimming in her eyes as she looked out at the crowd. "Senator Kennedy didn't just give me food or a bed. He gave me hope. For the first time in years, I feel seen. I feel human again. And I'm not the only one who deserves this chance. Every veteran does." The crowd erupted in applause, many wiping away tears. Kennedy simply stepped back, allowing Carol to shine in her own light. He had been the spark, but she was the fire. The story left a lasting imprint not just on Carol's life, but on the conscience of a nation. And it all began with one simple act: a man in power sitting down on a cold sidewalk, choosing compassion over convenience, and listening when no one else would. In the end, it wasn't just what Kennedy did that shocked everyone. It was what he reminded Emma, that true leadership isn't measured by speeches or titles, but by humanity, and by the courage to stop, see, and care when the world keeps walking by.